Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, today I will share to all of you about Maqasid Al-Shariah in Islamic Economics. There are some important pillars for better improvement of the financial systems. One of them is Maqasid Al-Shariah. Besides the Shariah rules and the regulator, we believe that Maqasid Al-Shariah, or purpose of Islamic law, is the most comprehensive instrument to enhance the contemporary Islamic finance and banking today. However, understanding the concept of Maqasid Al-Shariah and its underlying principles is very important before applying it into the current business scenario. It is very important to understand that maslahah or public interest is the core of theory of Maqasid Al-Shariah itself. This strong link leads us to have a specific focus and concern about maslahah, or interest, or benefit, or utility. All these words are treated synonymously, and thus these terms are used interchangeably in theory of maslahah. Al-Ghazali says in the definition of maslahah is seeking of benefits or repelling of harm. Allah says, I desire no more than to set things to right insofar as it lies within my power. But achievement of my aim depends on God alone. Chapter 11, verse 88. And he said also, and do not act wickedly on earth by spreading corruption. Chapter number 7, verses 74. Let we see what is the concept of Maqasid Al-Shariah. Imam Ash-Shatibi, who is the founder of Maqasid Al-Shariah in Islamic jurisprudence, did not provide a definition for the Islamic disciplines. However, there are two major definitions of Maqasid Al-Shariah provided by two other scholars who came after Ash-Shatibi, and they were behind the development of Maqasid Al-Shariah in Islamic jurisprudence. These two definitions are provided by Ibn Ashur and Al-Fazi. Ibn Ashur defined Maqasid Al-Shariah based on two aspects: the general aspect, which is the purpose and wisdom behind the enactment of all of most the Sharia ruling. The definition is more related to the general objective of Sharia, those overall principles that guided enactment of Islamic law in their totality. The second definition of Maqasid Al-Shariah is very specific. It is related to specific objective, to those objectives that are designed to achieve specific benefits to people in their daily activities, such as the importance validation of contracts. The secret of Islamic rulings means the goals intended by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in the law. As part of the comprehensive concept of Maqasid Al-Shariah is include various aspects of benefits, interest, public, private, and protection from various aspects of harms and vices. So Maqasid Al-Shariah aims to protect the interests of mankind and prevent the evil from them, and mean to realize the public benefit for the society and encourage virtues and avoid vices. What is the importance of implementation of Maqasid Al-Shariah in developing Islamic economics? The importance of the Maqasid Al-Shariah in developing Islamic business, finance, and also the economics come from the position of the wealth itself in the Islamic law and Maqasid Al-Shariah as well. This importance refers also to the objective of the Islamic law in finance and business transaction, and to the overall goals of Sharia in wealth. The preservation and the protection of the wealth is classified in the category of necessary interest, or we can say as daruriyat. This meaning of daruriyat are those without the protection and which there would anarchy and chaos in society. The finance and the economy is protected by Islamic law in form of Islamic rulings and regulation. It is strongly recommended to emphasize on the implementation of Maqasid Al-Shariah in the current business transaction because of the following reasons. First and the foremost, the suitable connection and smooth relationship between the objective Maqasid Al-Shariah and the objective of business transaction. We can observe that from the position of the wealth in Maqasid Al-Shariah, and as mentioned earlier, there is a clear indication from Sharia texts and rules to protect the finance and wealth in daily business activities in the society. The business transaction in domestic and international trade should be based on the principles of Islamic law, and the main objectives of Maqasid Shariah in finance and business shall be taken as guideline to execute all types of financial transaction. We can conclude as a result of the rules of business transaction should be within the regulation and the requirement of Maqasid Shariah and Islamic law. Let we see where is the connection from the Maqasid Shariah and the business transaction. The conventional financial system focuses primarily on the economic and the financial aspect of transaction, whereas the philosophical foundation of an Islamic financial system goes beyond that. According to the principles of the Maqasid Shariah, the Islamic system places equal emphasis on the ethical, moral, social, and the religious dimensions to enhance equality and the fairness of the good of the society as whole and holistic. Maqasid Shariah aims to achieve various objectives in business transaction, but I just want to state three of them, which are the first one, the circulation of the wealth in the market space and business transaction. The objective of Maqasid Shariah in the business transaction is to make the wealth available in the society members by right and enable everyone who deserve it to own it. However, it is very important of Maqasid Shariah perspective to keep the circulation of the wealth in the market through exchange and the business transaction and avoid all types of the monopoly of monetary in few hands of the peoples. The circulation and marketability of the wealth has been precisely mentioned as one of the primary objectives of Maqasid Shariah in business transaction by Ibn Ashur, who defined the circulation of the wealth as implies the fair circulation of wealth in the hand of as many people as possible. The Holy Al-Quran emphasizes very clearly on this concept, so that it may not be benefit going round and round, we say as dawla, among such as you as may already be rich. If we see in these verses, the idea of wealth going round and round refers in transfer from one person to another person. The verses thus means that the circulation of the wealth ensuing from spoils and always, for the matter, should not be confined to few people, such as, for example, transferring it from the hands of the father to those of the eldest sons, and from one person to his friend. Second one, the right to own and earn. The Shariah gave the right to the Muslim community to own and earn and create wealth as a result of that. However, there are two major ways for the Muslim. First one, the owning, or we can say the at-tamalluk. Owning is a basis of wealth formation by humans. It consists of the processing anything from which they can gain what will satisfy their needs, whether from their produce or their substitutes, namely the prices of this item. Secondly, the earning, we can say as takasub. The earning consists of exerting oneself to gain what help to satisfy one's need, whether by the physical labor or by mutual consent with other. There are three primary pillars of earning, which is land, labor, financial, capital. For the land is everything to which human labor can be applied on the planet Earth, and it is considered as the sources of the wealth. Respectively, labor is the means extracting most of the Earth's bounties. It is also the means creating wealth from the such as business as a higher trade and so on. However, the financial capital enables the continuation of labor to increase one's health. Therefore, the financial transactions are based upon their either ownership, such as buying residential property and foodstuff for the consumption, or earnings such as buying land. Last but not least, the prohibition of the riba. One of the major objectives in Sharia is prohibiting usury in all type of business transaction. the two major kind of the riba are strictly forbidden in Islamic law. Either riba an-nasiyah, which is interest or lend money, or riba al-fadal, which is taking superior thing of the same kind of good by giving more of the same kind of good of inferior quality for a particular product mentioned in Shariah. Quran says, those who eat riba will not stand on the day of resurrection except like the standing of a person beaten by shaitan, leading him to insanity. That is because they say trading is only like riba, whereas Allah permitted trading and forbidden the riba. According to the Islamic law, the riba cause harm in business transaction and give rich to community by easy way of grow their wealth in harming the other member of community. The Shariah looks at this profit as prohibited earning which not allowed. In fact, the riba makes the community lazy and unproductive and remain of minor contribution to the society. Therefore, all banks and financial institutions must move away from riba and conduct pure business transaction without involved in riba. It's very challenging achievement, but it is a holy duty and primary requirement of Islamic law in trade or in order to introduce pure Islamic product in banking and finance. In this respect, we can say that only different between the Islamic banks and the conventional bank is that Islamic bank beside the Shariah compliant in all business activities, avoid riba in all activities, whereas the conventional bank will all type of transaction without taking into consideration the prohibit of riba. Thus, the Islamic bank evaluate the product from both sides, value the transaction and the interest and profit and return and the purity of the product from the shubha of riba. The business transaction must be free from the riba, whereas the conventional banks evaluate the product from one side only, which is value, interest and profit, without taking into account the requirement of the region in that particular transaction. Let we see how we can establish the justice and equity in economic finance by using the Maqasid Al-Shariah. One of the major objectives Shariah is to establish justice and equity in economics and finance. This noble objective can be achieved from the following principle. First and the foremost, prohibition of the monopoly. Second one, prohibition of major uncertainty. Third one, prohibition of dues or ikrah. Fourth one, transparency to avoid mistake or ghalat in contract, and prohibition in equality, and also prohibition of deception, we can say as gharar. So the conclusion is I can give a finding and the recommendation to all of the audience. As conclusion, we should understand that Maqasid Al-Shariah is an important discipline which can play a crucial role in economics, finance and business transaction nowadays. It is time to go forward with full implementation of Maqasid Al-Shariah in finance, business and economic activities to achieve the noble objective of the Sharia. This objective give value to the finance, banking, trade and all of the business transaction. We believe that the implementation of the Maqasid Al-Shariah will enhance the performance of the finance and the trade and establish justice in the business community and society at large. Further, more of the achievement of Shariah objective in business transaction create happiness and satisfaction and fulfill the needs of the society in wealth. At the end, we conclude our discussion with some finding and results and recommendation as follows. First and foremost, there is no doubt that Maqasid Al-Shariah has noble objectives in economics, finance and Islamic business transactions. Second one, the objective of Maqasid Al-Shariah in business transaction create communal prosperity and happiness and satisfaction in the society. Third one, the concept of Maqasid Al-Shariah and its noble objective are considered universal goals And the fourth one is Maqasid Shariah, balance between the private interest by meeting or the demand of the individual according to their self-interest and the public interest by providing the need to the society and lead them to welfare program. The fifth one is recommended to promote Maqasid Shariah and Qawaid Usuliyah and Qawaid Fiqhiyah as traditional tools to understand finance and banking and enhance the application of business transaction and support and assist the fast growing of the Islamic economy and banking. The sixth one, Maqasid Shariah is a solid platform for the Shariah advisory to understand the current Shariah issues in finance and banking. Furthermore, it's help them in dealing with the current issues through the valid examination and provide alternative solution within the noble objective of Shariah. And the last one, we have to record here that the full comprehensive and understanding of the Maqasid Shariah is very primary requirement before the stage of their implementation in economics and finance. I think just that from me. Please bear in your mind that Maqasid Shariah are very important in Islamic economics. Just that from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.